So for this lesson, this is continuing what we did in 5.2, but showing you how to work with your technology using your calculator to do TVM equations or time value money. That's what those letters stand for. So we can use our calculator to solve these equations, but I prefer that you use them to check because you do need to know how to do these by hand. When you do your tests, you're going to be required to show the steps you worked by hand. So don't completely rely on this, but it is very useful for checking. To get to this on your calculator, you're going to push the button that says Apps. From the Apps menu, you're going to choose Finance. And then under the Finance menu, you're going to choose TVM Solver. And I'll pull up my calculator in a minute and show you these. Once you have it open, you're going to have a list of variables that you have to populate. And this is on your formula chart, so you don't have to have these memorized, but I do want you to write them down. That's good practice to help you know what they stand for. So you're going to have a capital N. That capital N represents the number of payments. The way that we calculate it is our M value times our T value. And then you're going to see a capital I with the percent sign. That is your nominal. Remember, that means the named interest rate. Still as a percent. So you're not going to convert it to a decimal. And then PV is the present value. What we've used that for in formula so far, we've seen it as PV, but also just as P. And then PMT is going to be the amount of payment to reach FV, your future value, which in our formulas, we see that as FV, or sometimes you'll see it as A. And then you'll have a P/Y, that is payments per year. In our formulas, that has been M, and CY is compounding periods per year. That is the same as M. So those two values are always going to be the same. And then at the bottom, you're going to see PMT again, but out beside that, it's going to say end and begin. And we'll talk about when you choose those. That is asking you, when is the payment made? We'll choose end for ordinary annuity, which is everything we've done to this point. And then begin is the setting we'll use for something we'll learn a little bit later called an annuity due. Okay, so let's go to our first example, this word problem. We just have 4 word problems for this. We say a firm of attorneys deposits $15,000 of profit sharing money in an account at 6% compounded semi-annually for 7.5 years. Find the amount of interest earned. So the beginning amount, the present value, or P, is $15,000. The interest rate stated is 6%. It says compounded semi-annually, so that's an M value of 2 and a time of 7.5. So what all of that translate to in our TVM solver is our N. We're going to calculate 2 times 7.5. You can actually type the multiplication into the TVM solver or go ahead and multiply it yourself. For I, we're going to put 6. For PV, we're going to put 15,000. PMT, we're going to put 0. FV, that's what we're going to solve for. and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You're going to push on your calculator the alpha button and then solve. And then PY is 2, CY is 2, PMT we're going to leave set to end. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my calculator view. I'm going to start by bringing up the apps menu right here. I'm going to choose finance number 1. TVM solver is number 1, and you'll see that list of variables that I mentioned. So I'm going to say 2 times 7.5, and I'm going to arrow down to the next one, and notice it went ahead and multiplied that for me. 6, 15,000. We're not making any payments. We're just depositing money and allowing it to earn interest. The future value is what we're looking for, so I'm not going to mess with that. PY is 2, CY is 2, and payment is set to end where we want it. So you should fill in every value but one. You go back to the one you want to solve for, which in our case is the future value. Get your cursor there and push alpha. And then notice the enter button says solve in green. And then it will solve for that amount. Okay, so after writing that value down beside the future value is what we were looking for, sort of. The question actually asks us for the amount of interest earned. And remember, we've talked about before that the interest earned is the difference between the future value and the present value, or the principal. So if you subtract those two, you get an interest earned of 8369.51. Okay. Number 2, Susie Q wants a brand new Quilt Mobile. Calculate the payment for a $20,000 loan for 4.5 years at 7.5% compounded monthly. So that's a P of 20,000 with a time of 4.5 years with a rate of 7.5% and an end value of 12. So again, taking that and showing how that populates the TVM solver. For N, we do M times T, so 12 times 4.5. For I percent, we just put 7.5, no conversion. For PV, we'll put 20,000. PMT is what we're solving for. So don't worry about that, just leave it at 0. FV is 0. PY is 12. CY is 12. And for payment, we're going to leave it set to end. So again, let me switch back to the calculator. Okay, adjusting from what we had on the last one. For N, I needed to do 12 times 4.5, 7.5%, 20,000. Payments, what we're looking for, so I'll just leave that 0 there. Future value, if you're paying off a loan, you want the end balance to be 0. 12 payments per year, compounded 12 times per year. Payment is on end. So I'll go back to the payment, make my cursor be where I want to solve, and click alpha solve. And that shows you the payment. So this is what banks even use to calculate loan payments for cars. Or if you use an online calculator, calculate a loan payment for a car, this is what's being used. Okay, so I got that payment written down. Moving to question number 3, calculate the future value of payments of 150 made at the end of each quarter for 7 years, and money is worth 9% compounded quarterly. So this could be some type of savings account you're setting up, maybe for college or retirement, or maybe to purchase something. So actual payments are being made. So this is starting with a principal of 0, where whatever account you're putting it in doesn't have any money, has a payment of $150 over a time of 7 years at a rate of 9%, compounded quarterly, so N is 4. So into your TVM solver. For N, you would do 4 times 7 or 28. For I, you would set it to 9. Present value is 0 with a payment of $150. Future value is what we're going to be solving for. PY and CY are both 4. And the payment is at the end. Okay, so I'm not going to switch back to my calculator. Make sure you walk through solving this one. And the amount you should get is $5,763.63. Okay, and our final problem, calculate the balance or payoff value of your house if monthly payments of $750 have been made for 7 years of a 30-year loan at 5%. So payments being made are $750. The time that's remaining is 30 minus 7 because it's a 30-year loan, been making payments for 7 years. So you have 23 years left with a rate of 5%. Monthly payments are made, so it's also compounded monthly. So into your TVM solver for N, you would put 12 times 23. For I, you would put 5. Present value, so at the moment that we're interested in, is what we're looking for. When payments of $750 have been made, working towards a future value again of 0. Payments per year are 12. Compounds per year are 12. And payment is made at the end of the period. So again, just to clarify, you have some payment or some loan on a house. This doesn't tell us how much the house initially was worth, but that's not what we need to know. We know it's a 30-year loan and 7 years of payments have been made. So if you've set up a loan for 30 years, $750 will pay it off to a future value of 0. So knowing that we have the 23 years left is what allows us to calculate this without ever knowing what the house cost. So when you go through this in your TVM solver, you should get 122,869.05.